open, but I think with this Wukong ban, even things like Vi actually rising in priority. Wei was the premier Vi player we had this split. He had the most games on it, 9 more than any other jungler in the LPL. Was his specific second most played champion, but the Lucian as well. This hasn't been a pick that RNG have leaned on all too much. 5 games for Gala, but will mean they can go aggressive down in that 2v2.
It certainly does. It means that they can take it to EDG. And now, Sivir, Zeri, both available here. Which one does EDG lean towards? What do they feel can take this Lucian on during the laning phase? Apparently it's the Zeri and the Vi locked in for JJ.
Good call. Like we said, Wukong banned out, kind of raising the prio of that Vi. Nami, what you'd expect RNG to pick up here, and then going to be looking towards a jungler for themselves. Feels like Trundle kind of being the next highest priority on the echelon, but that is a standard Wei pick. We know how much Wei has really loved the Viego. Hasn't really done as well, I think, in recent metas where a lot of junglers have been about engage or have been about just overall the utility and setup they bring to fights, which is why things like Poppy, Vi, Trundle have risen in prio so much. But at least now having a burst duo in Lucian Nami can set you up better to try and find those resets for Viego in team fights.
That Lulu that we've seen so many times up against the Lucian. Very likely the lock-in here for Meiko. With the Yuumi banned away, you want to be able to dissuade some of that aggression in the bottom side. So, we've got our jungle matchups. We've got our AD carry matchups here as well. What are you anticipating here in terms of the blind pick for EDG and then the answers from RNG?
For EDG, I think their blind pick is still kind of flexible, depending on bans. But talking about bans, I want to see EDG take away some of the engage options. Maybe you can look towards the Sejuani again. Lissandra would be another definite one in my mind that you want to take away, because we saw things like Lissandra Viego combo and how well it does. They are going to go that route in terms of taking away engage, but instead this time valuing the potential Ornn pick over that Sejuani.
Yeah, Ornn. Take it away. I can see it, right? You know, with how Flandre played last game, but also with how much it enabled Viper. I have to say, Lyric, I'm just scared. Like, you've let Viper have the Zeri again, and I know that you've got an aggressive AD carry this time, but I'm still just scared of Viper and Zeri, man. He's such a monster. The Ari banned by RNG here. We'll see where EDG go. Could go with another blind top laner. Maybe something like the Gnar could be taken away from Breed.
Yeah, I still think taking away more engage is what works best, because right now it'd be really hard for RNG to force fights, especially considering how low range they are. RNG now, I still think taking away the Azir is the best bet. If you want to talk about things that are solid blind pick mid laners, that is still at the top of the list. But Talia being another one that is still open and available. Sylas still on the cards as well. So for RNG, having a bit of choices, but I still think taking away that range, taking away the disengage, and EDG can then just play a very similar style to how they played in Game 1.
It is.
We got it, Munch! We got it!
Yeah, it's finally taken away from Scout. And rightly so, because in the laning phase, it's going to do well into the Talia and the Sylas. So both good picks kind of ruined by that as is. So now the Sylas, the Talia become a little bit more juicy, become a little bit more of an entertaining pick here. As a Renekton being hovered, I'd be surprised to see a blind top lane here, but maybe just focusing on getting Scout the good matchup.
So they will have this taken off the board. We do still have things like the Gnar that you hit on, even Gwen, like other potential options being available. Now the ball's going to be in RNG's court. Both Lissandra and Talia are still open. I feel like Talia is a decently safe blind, but we remember in Game 1, RNG actually banned away the LeBlanc. LeBlanc would be another potential answer that Scout can look to go in. But one thing we know for sure is EDG, like you said, wanting to have a bit more presence and ability to match in the early game skirmishes, which, I mean, they already did in Game 1 with champions like Ornn. Now going to be able to do so even more.
I will say, Breathe, an absolute terrifying Gwen as well. Like, in those team fights, you just know Breathe is going to decimate health bars with the needlework. He does not miss. And Xiaohu going to go back to an old classic. Talia still available, but not willing to go for that. As a pick, we'll lock in the Lissandra. This is something that Xiaohu has played countless times over the years. It's his most played of the split as well.
And now for EDG, able to set up with the Sylas pick would give them a lot of presence in these early skirmishes. And some decent ultimates to be able to take away from the opposing side, right? Lissandra, Gwen, Nami, a lot of high value that they can find there. So I wouldn't be surprised if they lock this in. I feel like the only other option they could is if they wanted to go towards that Talia pick themselves, but no, they do decide to go for this. So now, really brawly topside, right? These melee, all-in style champions being able to jump onto the backline of RNG. We've already hit her for RNG. Very low range. Their backline isn't actually all that far out of reach for the members of EDG. They're going to rely a lot on the zone control and like CC coming out from members like Xiaohu and Ming to stop that in its tracks and allow Gala to be able to reposition, be able to take these fights.
Yeah, it's going to be all about that positioning, right? All about being in the right spot. And like you say, Viper going to be able to use that movement speed to try and kite out such a long-range composition, but it's all down to Xiaohu now. He needs to lock this Zeri down. He needs to be the one to find that CC chain. And the cleanse do a little bit. You see a little smile exchange between the coaches there. I feel like the rivalry here between the squads, you know, it transcends just the history of the organizations. Because, you know, Kenzu changing which organization he was on from last year, winning the World Championship with EDG, now winning MSI with RNG. It's kind of funny to see him now working against his old team.
Yeah, just a lot of shared history, and even things like when your teams are going to playoffs and going to international so much, you spend so much time together in like buses to venues, in waiting rooms, just two teams that again know each other inside and out.
The amount of Clash Royale these boys have played together, it's unbelievable.
It's leaning more towards like a Bloons TD6 angle, but...
Oh, okay, I see you. We're headed towards game number 2 here. It's RNG versus EDG. Don't let our mobile game references take you away from how important this series is. It's round 3 of playoffs, and whoever loses will be knocked out of the bracket entirely. Whoever wins can move forward to that top 4. Both going to be looking for regionals already, but they want to go further. They don't want to have to play regionals. They want to win the LPL, and they've both done it so many times before. Let's see who can get the advantage today. EDG with a great game 1, but RNG starting off with some nice deep vision here onto EDG's jungler.
Also, this win for RNG would mean so much from the fact of in spring, they finished first. They got 90 championship points. If RNG can push their way up to at least 4th, that'll guarantee them at least another 60. Then there's so many different situations where RNG can finish 3rd or 4th with, you know, pending on where other teams go, and still be the 2nd seed for Worlds just from points accumulated. So I think for RNG specifically, with their amount of championship points already in hand, it would be absolutely huge to be able to make it to top 4.
It would be something magical, honestly, with the, like you say, the fact that they managed to make it to MSI, the fact that they already have so many points in hand. Viper and Meiko starting off in the brush, but I wasn't sure if they were going to try and go for some crazy cheese or something, but just playing for control of the lane and vying for the level 2, because you know that if Lucian Nami hits level 2 before you, it ain't going to be a pretty laning phase. So fighting as hard as they can to use that advantage of having the level 1 Lulu that can do so much harass to buy themselves space in this lane.
We can see junglers, right? JJ already pathing down towards the bot side. Red straight down to his blue buff. EDG, once again, just playing for presence on this bottom half of the map. I mean, typically you don't look for cheeky ganks level 2 on Viego, but not even having that option anymore because EDG doing their due diligence, knowing they're playing so aggressively in that 2v2, already getting a ward down in Tri-Brush. So having all their bases covered for their bottom lane, now it's going to be about linking up and going towards this top side. But one key difference in this matchup is now Xiaohu will be able to get some prio in the early game, which will unlock him to play the way RNG been playing all splits and making those roams down towards the bottom side with Wave.
Now, I want to just take a second here and talk about some of the stats for our mid lane with Xiaohu and Scout on these very prolific picks for them. I might have to hold that thought.
Well, you might not get time much, JJ. Xiaohu looks juicy.
He does, doesn't he? He's very far up the lane. The Claw of Doom certainly gives you some space, but is it going to be enough? The Scout tries to move on forward. JJ is here. Try and predict the flash. They don't need to because they lock Xiaohu up. He moves on over, but Scout is there, ready and waiting.
And EDG knowing, probably not going to run towards their opposing jungle, just wait for where the claw is going to land. Scout might have to use a flash, but he still picks up the kill. Beautiful coming out from EDG.
And do you know what? Yeah, Scout used the flash, but so did Xiaohu, and that's the TP down as well. Flandre, though, wants a solo kill up in the top side. Flandre bringing the Renekton back to the LPL.
Yeah, Draft, we were questioning the Renekton pick coming out so early, but Flandre, having confidence, is able to take Breathe down. And Munch, maybe we're getting set up for a quick night.
I will be very sad if that is the way that this ends up going, but my god, Flandre not messing about, and the same can be said for this beautiful guy. The knock-up into the knock-up, beautifully chained CC. And Xiaohu, I like the flash away to try and then claw back. I like the creativity there, but just read by EDG beautifully.
Yeah, and we see here, bad trade coming out from Breathe. Flandre had the rage stacked up, is able to go in, just pretty much one-shot him with the combo available after W being down and that last snip not connecting.
And you can see that Gala trying to get some aggressive trades to the bottom side, and I feel like there must be a lot of pressure on Gala's shoulders right now when you think about this player has been the insurance for his team, trying to get the all-in. Exhaust comes down, Meiko knocked up, but the Ultra Shock Laser does land, and Gala won't find the window he was looking for.
And you know, Munch, like, I'm starting to think about it now, and there's actually too many parallels to 2021 Summer Playoffs. LNG potential miracle run, already starting. RNG being seeded into round 3 and kind of unexpectedly getting knocked out. Looks like we might be there as well. Just serious flashbacks to that time. EDG also, I mean, they won that split. They're the winners.
They did. And I'm going to be honest, they're looking terrifying today. It's highly possible you might be a bit of a prophet on this one, Lyric, as we may have seen this playoffs before. Obviously, it won't be exactly the same, but
no WE.
In the grand scheme of things, pretty damn close. Yeah, rest in peace, WE. They didn't quite have the same split that they did back last year.
No, and I mean, even teams like Top Esports and JDG completely stepping up this split. But Scout now, after finding that early kill, does have the presence, does have the pressure in the mid lane. And EDG going to play around this mid-jungle 2v2, but RNG, they don't want it to be a 2v2. Bringing more members first, but Meiko en route.
Yeah, Scout locked up. There's a knock. Look at the CC chain coming out. Scout tries to just clear the wave. It's not going to happen. A really nice and crucial pick here for RNG as they played the 3v3 before Meiko's in position.
Right, they abuse such a small window to be able to go in. Flandre!
He's diving the tower, but won't be able to do the damage. Do you know, I saw them in the lane, and I didn't think that he had the damage to go for the play, but Flandre will not be deterred, pushing this under. And crucially, TP is available for Breathe, so Flandre cannot stick around.
And let's remember that when that first solo kill happens, right, Breathe is now losing minions, he's losing experience, which is why Flandre is able to hit 6 first. And once again, forced to back off, you're losing more minions to turret, you're slowly falling behind further and further in experience. And now it's going to open up Flandre to have so much presence. You can see now he's going to have so many movements where he can either just hover down in a fog of war, he can make roams towards mid, which we saw him do in game 1 and had a huge impact dropping the Rift Herald. And even when Rift Herald comes up in a minute 20, like EDG have guaranteed pressure in topside coming out from the kill threat for Flandre. EDG should be set up for success to even look for that objective.
JJ's mid again. He actually just flashed there to try and get onto Xiaohu, but didn't find the knock up here. Scout with the Lissandra ult in his pocket, but Wei looks like we'll just respect it. And it all turns to naught. 300 gold lead for EDG. And this is a bit more like it, isn't it, Lyric? This is a little bit closer as Viper chunked out here. Gala tries to find his opportunity. Both AD carries extremely low.
Yeah, so we're going to get a replay in the bottom right-hand corner of JJ going for that gank. Trying to predict and go for it, but sadly not able to do so in the end. So Xiaohu does get away scot-free. But like we said before, Rift Herald coming up in 30 seconds. EDG have already been putting their focus towards this half of the map. Clear out the vision. You have Flandre, whose dominance looks like it should be coming up relatively soon to be able to find an impact on that fight towards topside. And heck, might not even matter about bot lanes getting involved. I'm curious to see if RNG would opt into some kind of trade side, but no. Reset's coming out, so...
Scout using the Lissandra ult to guarantee both procs on the chain lash. I mean, it must have been timing out, right?
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. JJ moving up to the top side here is Flandre threatening a dive. Healing channel, but JJ backs away. That's needlework proc. They're more than happy with the result.
100% right. You take away a big ultimate that could do something in a team fight. You could argue the same for Scout, but like you said, probably get a timeout, so not really much choice but to go through with that one. And Wei being so cheeky and starting this one up. Ming will be able to get here first. We can already see Gala's on his way as well, but EDG's bot lane walking together as a unit.
I Wow, Scout just walks into that brush, no fear, but he should have been scared because the whole gang's here for RNG. Herald will reset, but with no jungler, there's no chance of a contest here. Viper's moved on over, as has Meiko, but I don't think a 4v5 is what EDG wants.
No, it just feels like a missed opportunity when we talk about them getting that needlework out from Breathe, them having Dominus ready and rearing to go. And JJ, like you said, walking forward so aggressively. Doesn't have flash up, so putting himself even under more risk to go down. But great by RNG, picking up this Rift Herald, and hopefully they can start getting back from some of the lane, some of the laning prowess they're losing from is Flandre. I think he just wants to get out of dodge, but no, he's staying, Munch. It's crazy.
He has no teammates nearby. There is no play here along with his team, but there is in the mid lane. Xiaohu once again. Oh, gets a double root. Can they actually close the gap here? Scout surely has abilities, but he's got no mana. Okay, JJ finishes it off. And I feel like Xiaohu must be getting frustrated. He's in a 2v1 lane at this rate.
Once again, not having flash, that's just typically being taken by members of EDG, dedicating those resources there. And now that they're fighting these advantages in mid, it opens up what they're doing now. You can hover down towards the enemy jungle. If they had wards, I mean, ideally you'd want to get some deep aggressive vision, and you can look for plays to either threaten dive, zone people off turrets, and just keep looking to smack it down on this bot lane turret. So EDG doing a nice job of using their pressure, even that slight lean towards bot side, making Gala and Ming back off.
Yeah, I just want to quickly mention that bottom lane as well, because Viper and Meiko, while they haven't got a big CS lead or anything, they have got 2 turret plates for themselves. And we talked about this Lucian Nami. You lock this in to dominate in the early game, to win out your 2v2, to take that lead into the other lanes. That's not really been what we're seeing so far this game. EDG doing a really good job, not only to just weather the storm, but actually to find themselves advantages in this one.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where we know, like, Lucian Nami doesn't really come online really at all until having that full combo. And even then, it's a lot about, like, short bursty trades. You really can't all in, especially when you're up against shielding and enchanter supports, which is one of the reasons why Lulu is such a big answer. Because if you're Lucian, you go in with the full combo, you're not going to be able to take them down. They could then run you down on the exit. And it's a lot more about once things like Gale Force come in, Mandate come in, where you can actually 100-0 people and do it from a distance, do it unexpectedly with the Gale Force into a culling. You have Nami applying her abilities and buffing you up. So at least for RNG, not hitting, I think, critical mass of where the Lucian Nami comes online, but it has been a struggle so far and will need their mid-jungle support like we see now, the squad that we highlighted to start finding some picks.
Yeah, ward over the wall. I'm pretty sure JJ spotted that ward being placed. Control ward comes down here. His EDG don't want to lose control. 15 seconds until Drake. And Scout wants to make the play here. Good ult from Wei just in time to survive.
But EDG are just keeping up this pressure. Scout does give away, his flash and his ulti, but it feels like members of RNG just consistently losing their ults, losing their flashes, and making it rough for them. But no, Gala gonna look for the all-in.
Viper's in trouble here. He's in a 1v3, but he somehow escapes with his life. JJ's out as well. Meiko now left alone, flashes out though, and actually gets away with it. I can't believe everyone from EDG surviving the play, but RNG, are they confident enough to actually go for the Drake? That's the question.
Feels like it'd be hard to go for. Scout now going for a back, does have TP, so he's going to TP down immediately. RNG shouldn't really be able to get this turret, but I don't think there's much threat of an engage coming out from either side. Xiaohu does have his ult if someone oversteps, but that's really the only key ability up.
Oh, geez, up at the top lane. Every time the camera comes up here, I've been Pavlovianly conditioned. I don't know, that's not the way you say that, but every time the camera goes up there, there's an all-in. There's someone that dies, so I'm terrified every single time. Laser across the team here is the EDG. Try and move in. 4v4. Scout goes wide on the knock, and it's Drake taken by RNG. JJ for the flash, and there's the follow-up. Gala eradicated. Scout wants to find more, but Xiaohu will zip himself away.
EDG buying enough time for those ultis to come up to be able to find the engage. This is something we were hitting on earlier on, is Munch the action. The action's not stopping.
It certainly isn't. JJ, no smite though. This should go the way of Wei. Has the smite available. We'll finish it off. That's a dicey recall from JJ. He's going to be caught. Okay, gets over the wall. I was real nervous with JJ right there. He will get away with his life. The wave crashed in the bottom side. We reset for just a second here, Lyric.
Yeah, and going back to what we saw in the last fight, right? we're talking about RNG and really their lack of engage other than what they have in mid lane. So that's why in the prior fight they weren't able to find anything. But now EDG had waited for enough time for those ults to come back up. Tidal wave one side, zones and leaves Gala all by himself. So JJ can go in with that cease and desist and be able to pick up that kill.
Shenanigans have occurred in the mid lane here. Xiaohu being forced to reset on basically no HP. And I want to take that as an opportunity to quickly talk about some stats for these picks in the mid lane. Because with Xiaohu, you think of Lissandra when you think of this player. He's played it 47 times across his career, which hilariously makes it his 7th most played pick. Kind of gives a little credence to how long this man's career has been. But a 61% win rate, a 4 KDA. Pretty impressive stats, right? But then you look over to Scout, and you realize he's played Sylas 33 times. He's won 25 of those games. He has a 76% win rate on the Sylas Scout. Absolute monster on the pick, but he might have been found out here. The root, the CC chain, the Crown doing a lot. Is it enough, though? As he gets the reset, gets the ult, can't he escape with his life? Kingslayer back in! Nearly turns it around onto Way, but it's a great pick for RNG.
Crown of the Shattered Queen, things like the Healing of the Conqueror coming in clutch to almost making it so he can get out of there. But at the end, 3 members is just too much for Scout to have to deal with. And perfect timing for RNG as well. Herald coming up in 8 seconds. No TP for Scout to be able to join in on a potential play. But EDG have dedicated their bot lane up towards topside first.
Yeah, trying to fight for that second Herald once again. EDG on the ball for this one, whereas Gala and Ming see the pings onto that bottom tower. So this should just be a trade across the map. Don't anticipate too much action here. EDG have literally committed almost all 5 players. Scout, the only one who's going to move down to the bottom side, I don't think he can answer the push onto the tower here, but at least will sweep up the way back.
We'll make sure no more shenanigans as well, right? Like they aren't able to get a good chunk on the next turret or potentially even be able to just zone him away. So we'll be here and waiting. And oh my God, Gala. Does it happen, Munch? Does it happen? Does it go down?
I mean, Scout, he's been a monster so far today, takes the culling. He's going to use it. Gala's in trouble here because the TP's coming through as well. From Flandre into the backline they go. Gala the target. Culling is there. Tidal wave those by space. Ming plays it beautifully, and it's Flandre to fall. Breathe now. Next target. Laser over the wall. Viper so deep in the play. And Breathe tries to turn it around, but JJ under the tower. The knockups across their team, and EDG winning the fight. But here are the reinforcements as RNG flipping around. Xiaohu and Wei against the world. Scout falls. Viper still going, double kill on the Zeri, looking for more, kiting back, he's down! RNG, find the fight!
The Lissandra Viego combo able to come in clutch. We see the Lissandra able to set up for all those resets. Had it not happened, I think Viper would have been able to do it, but huge team fight for RNG.
Unbelievable stuff here for RNG as they finally find a massive fight for themselves. And look at Wei's scoreline, 4-0-2. This Viego coming up clutch, getting the triple kill. Flandre trying to threaten, as is JJ. Let's take another look at the absolute carnage in the bottom lane.
Yeah, and I feel like it took Scout a little bit too long to get involved in the fight. You didn't know where anyone on RNG was, so I get it. But once they get in, Flandre now comes in. He's already chunked low. Scout being delayed by the tidal wave. That was huge from Ming. But once the other members of EDG get here, they have the lockdown. They have the burst to take these members down. Sadly for them, now Mr. and Mrs. Reset City are in town. Lissandra just sets up perfectly for Viego to get these. And had Wei not gotten this, Viper definitely would have been able to clean up the fight. But now has the gap closers, and you still have the damage coming out from Xiaohu to ensure that you win. And we come right back in, drag it on the board in 5 seconds.
This is more like it. This is what I wanted out from an EDG RNG series. As everyone grouping up in the mid lane, Herald trying to get a charge down. I don't know if they can finish this one off. It is tanky. Remember the second Herald buffed. Oh,
so
the
close.
smite down, but it still gets the charge. Is Breathe actually using the needlework? There's a tidal wave as well. RNG using so many ultimates, and the fight's not even started.
No, and definitely going to hurt them. I mean, especially considering EDG haven't even started or threatened the dragon yet. Looks like they finally will do so now. And RNG conscious with those ults being used that they can't look for a fight.
Yeah, they back away. They push the wave mid and realize they can't even threaten the tier 1 here. EDG, you saw them starting to pan up just a little bit. And RNG walk away with nothing off the back of this play, but they still have their gold lead. So 2 Drakes in in favor of EDG, and an Infernal Soul, so very valuable to have those Drakes at this point. But crucially, a 2,000 gold lead for RNG as Breathe gets a little bit of solo time on the town.
Scout will finally be able to answer. And now, you know, we're getting into the part of the game where things like scaling, things like side lane really do start to come into importance. And for EDG, right, the fact that they have Sylas, they have Renekton, they have multiple champions who feel comfortable sitting in the side lane. Xiaohu's fine clearing waves, but Breathe?
Scout goes for an all-in because he's got reinforcements and finds himself a kill. A beautiful, beautiful bait coming out from Scout here. Breathe thought he had the 1v1. He was deceived.
And I'm surprised Breathe even looking for it. That's why I was talking about the opposite side of the map, because you look at where the other members of RNG were on the map. Like Waze coming out from base, Ming and Gala both chilling in mid, just really no one available if EDG had gone for a play. And RNG have some nice deep vision in, you know, parts of EDG's jungle. Like, they don't spot where JJ is, and oh, Meiko.
Meiko surely gonna go down? No, well, Wild Growth actually keeps him alive. Still has Flash. So Meiko somehow getting away with that one. I feel like it's a little bit criminal, honestly, that he survived. But Wade just not having the damage. And that's, you know, one of the things. Viego going to do a lot in a team fight. Doesn't necessarily have the most damage in a little pick like that.
Right, Viego, I mean, you're not like this crazy, insane, bursty champion. Your ult could potentially try and find angles once people have already been bursted low. You have some like pretty decent cooldowns to be able to put out damage over an extended period of time. But sadly, not enough to take down a Lulu, especially with the wild growth. But now we're at a point where no dragon on the map. We're at Baron now being up. So EDG going to want to start getting vision around that top side. It feels like RNG still a little bit hesitant in terms of like a direct confrontation, pressure, trying to match pressure with pressure where EDG are. But now we might finally get a bit of that.
We may well. Wait, moving to the top side here. Scout backs off though, and actually will face check in. Has the crown, so no damage really going to come down just yet. But wait, happy to take the 1v1, just chunking Scout out. Xiaohu will not follow the claw. That's a good bit of damage. Scout does have TP available. I mean, Baron on the map, but I'm not really sure either team going to be confident enough to go for any kind of Baron-based shenanigans this early on, unless they can find a pick in advance.
Definitely not. I feel like not a huge amount of DPS to be able to take that one down this early on either side. We are finally starting to get to the 2-item mark. Collector picked up for Gala, and we see Viper going towards that Phantom Dancer. For the Collector, I mean, you have numerous tanky members coming out on the side of EDG, so it could get a little bit rough to find a lot of value out of that as, you know, we have 3 bruisers on the top side of the map for EDG. So Gala definitely going to start finding those burst opportunities now. And if Viper's just ever too far forward, catching waves in mid, there's the opportunity.
I thought you were actually going to start that for a second there. I think that would have been a little crazy as wards going to be placed by RNG. They're trying to fight for a little bit of vision control on the top side, but they are not winning that fight. EDG keeping control for themselves as Breathe going to steal a blue buff. He's on a flank. Flandre in the brush here as well. Spots him with a sweeper and buying space on the bottom side. So EDG having control of the Baron area but can't really start anything right now, whereas RNG using that to find an advantage on that bottom side and get vision of the Dragon area that's up in just over a minute.
For RNG, I feel like getting your wards down is going to be so important, considering that Xiaohu needs to be the one leading the charge on this Lissandra, getting on top of Viper and making sure he's locked down. Now with Zani's and Everfrost, he has even more tools available to do so and make sure he can survive and potentially either survive or get another round of spells off. But having those flank wards, even just being able to spot out where, you know, Scout or Flandre, if they're trying to mark you, if they're trying to contest you on making their way around, is going to be crucial. So I like that RNG already getting some vision down in EDG's bot side jungle.
Scout going to use the Lissandra ult on himself there. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and assume that was about to run out rather than he just misclicked in the brush. Hijack, obviously, a very short cooldown, but it will be a longer cooldown on using Xiaohu's ult, so we'll have to go for a different ultimate for this Drake fight. 30 seconds, though, and RNG are trying to encroach.
We can see EDG also cleared out all that vision. We were just praising them for being able to get down, so you're going to be walking in blind. And we know what Zeri's able to do in these setups. Keep throwing out those W's over terrain and try to chunk them out before they're able to walk in.
Flandre and Breathe fighting for vision on the side, but Flandre skips on into the pit, keeps himself alive here. Full setup for both teams. And EDG, you got to keep your eyes on Viper, on the Zeri. He's getting some mana from the honey fruit, but Gala is finally online. He has the items. Can he find the burst?
A lot of it's going to be down to Breathe taking up the damage, and then Xiaohu finding a way in and comboing with Wei. Those are the two men we're looking at, to where for EDG, they have so many angles they can attack a team fight from. You have numerous people can jump in and dive the back line while allowing Meiko to peel for Viper.
Pulling out from Gala, it's an opportunity to start the Drake here for RNG. Down to 5k as EDG try and move in. It's so tense between the teams. It's on a knife's edge. EDG looking for Soul Point, and they found themselves a pick. There's the chain of ultimates, and Xiaohu is down. Crocodilio in the middle of the team, and RNG forced away. What a fight from EDG. Decisive play once more.
EDG just have so many opportunities to look for an engage because they have so many members with mobility, with the ability to just jump straight on top of you. We saw there Scout, Jidget, Flandre, all able to do so. And there it is. There are the picks that you hit on that would be needed for a team to get the Baron. And it looks like EDG on their way to picking it up.
Breathe is here, Gala is here, Ming is here. A TP comes through from Scout to get a flanking position. 9k on the Baron. As Gala moves in, they need a miracle. RNG want to stay in the series, but you know what? EDG respect it. They say, look, this is not worth throwing our lead. We've got Soul Point. Let's back away. Let's not force it.
Oh, Scout now needs to be careful. Luckily, does have the crown, so wouldn't have actually been the worst, but now we'll have that popped and have to get out of there. And I feel like for that Baron, just respecting the fact of Wei and Xiaohu now being up, but we'll see this fight. We hit on for RNG, it's a lot about Xiaohu being able to get in there, so he throws the claw initially, puts some threat on top of them, but it'd be too rough to be able to follow in. Kind of awkward unless Breed's already taking the front line, to where EDG have so many ways to dive on top. Scout with a phenomenal, jump in and ult straight onto Xiaohu, takes him out right away, and then both Flandre and Junjia coordinate their dive to soak a lot of this damage and allow Viper to free hit.
And that's the thing, right? Viper just sitting at the back with this amount of threat coming out from EDG. Nobody from RNG can even consider diving onto the back line. It gives so much space to Viper in these fights, and you can see across the board here, it's starting to look pretty tasty for EDG. 2.5 items, almost finished the Infinity Edge there for Viper. That's when Zeri is really going to start firing on all cylinders. For Scout, he's already so tanky, right? With the Zhonya's and a crown. Now building some MR as he heads towards the Banshees. He's going to be invincible during these fights. And it feels like for EDG, it's just run distraction, run a dive comp, while Viper could just chill on the backline.
It's working out great to where when you look at the opposing side, it's really hard for the Lissandra to jump in solo with just so much damage available. It feels like Breathe, as he starts getting more items on his belt, already having 2 and also having the stopwatch available, is going to need to play a key role being strong, frontlining for the team, and give those potential angles available for the Lissandra to be able to safely go in and not just get bursted out right as the fight starts.
Wei desperately trying to finish this ward as Viper just peppering him over the wall. Xiaohu trying to move in. A bit of threat in the mid lane here. Flandre has TP available, and EDG, they decide to back away. Not going to force the play here as Wei. That's going a little too far forward, but not punished on this one. And Flandre just going to push the wave in on the bottom side, go for a reset himself here. Does have the TP, as I said, but will not commit to a play for now. And Lyric, this feels like what I expected out from this series, right? Game number 1, an absolute wash for EDG. Game number 2, RNG are back, and we get this close, tense battle between 2 of the oldest orgs in the league.
It's actually crazy to see that gold is still even with how much action and how these fights have gone. Feels like EDG have consistently been able to come out slightly ahead in fights, and that's leading them to picking up all these dragons. But RNG, the fact that they've been able to match, they've been at least able to find some kills, find some picks, and most importantly, get the turrets is what has kept them so close. But now, Viper having the IE, being at that point for the crit 80 carry to be so strong. Sure, Gala also on 3 items has the burst available, but we know Viper going to have more DPS if fights go extended. RNG wants short, bursty fights. EDG, I think, have a little bit more wiggle room with champions like Zeri and like Sylas doing well in extended skirmishes.
Absolutely. Meiko going to use a bit of movement speed there. I think he was under the impression he was about to be collapsed on. Okay, 1 minute until this Drake comes up. Who are you favoring at this point? Because, you know, we're talking about the burst fights for RNG, the extended fights for EDG. Which one do you think we're actually going to see? Because as far as I've seen, EDG are actually winning burst fights so far this game. Like, we keep on seeing just JJ go in alongside Scout and find a pick before the fight even really begins.
Well, that's the problem, right? Is how does Xiaohu safely go in to start that fight when he's a member of the CC? You could throw out Ming's tidal wave first. You're trying to lock people down. It gives time for Breathe to get in the fight. But if that ability doesn't hit, then it's like, okay, we just wasted Nami ult, and now we really don't have a way of being able to get on EDG. So that's why RNG being on objective first might give them that potential setup, but I still slightly favor EDG. If they do their due diligence, they can just kind of brute force their way in with that same dive that they had before.
Playing it safe, though. EDG not wanting to go too far and throw away the lead that they've got in terms of these Drakes, right? It's sole point for EDG. If they can get this Drake, even if they can just flip it over a smite, that will be a win condition in of itself, especially with how much this laser is already doing. Imagine that with an Infernal Soul on top. Gala getting real close to getting hit by Scout there. Another laser from Viper. He's just unrelenting. And RNG being poked out of the situation. Flandre moving forwards here as EDG slowly but surely eking their way into the play. Scout trying to threaten moving forwards.
Yeah, Scout having the Lissandra ult available, they need to be really careful of the engage and the threat that he provides. So keeping our eyes on both mid laners for when the fight starts and looking at AD carries to put up those huge numbers.
6k on the Dragon. This is everything as Wei moves on forwards. Flandre into the back of the pit, and Wei is wiped out. RNG need the fight. They need to turn this, but they just can't. Infernal Soul as Gala looks for a consolation prize, but that's all he will get. EDG are here to play. This is their rift.
EDG wanting to stay the kings of summer. RNG might be the kings of spring, but spring ended months ago. It's EDG's time, making their way towards the Baron again. And sadly for RNG this time, not having the members to be able to stop them.
And this blind Renekton as well, doing so much as Flandre just getting in the middle of everyone, and sure, Gala finds him at the end, but look at the pressure that he puts on, getting the stun onto Wei alongside Scout. What's the counterplay, Lyric?
It's just the ability to go in, to coordinate those engages. Scout coming up huge, waits to have the Lissandra ult to be able to get it, and now you're left in such an awkward position. Sure, Flandre goes down, but he's zoning two members, allowing EDG to be able to win and pick up the rest of the fight. Now we look across the board at items. JJ now having that GA, so he's going to be able to look for an engage of his own, survive, even if he does get taken down, and just giving EDG even more potential angles of engage to come through. But with the Baron online, now actually starting to build that gold lead, having Infernal Soul, I don't know any way that RNG can look to contest.
Man, I don't know who Edward is, but he sure is gaming right now as EDG. I actually do know who Edward is, but
I was going to say.
It sounded funnier if I said it like that. EDG moving forwards. Oh my days. That's the mid laner. Viper is actually a level up on him. What the heck? I was going to say he's a level down, but Xiaohu a level behind Viper at this point in the game. No wonder Viper's doing so much damage.
And I feel like we're going to get to the point in the game where, once again, we're going to say RNG are going to regret leaving the Zeri open, even if this game really has been off the back of a lot of Scouts engages. Now they're going to have to deal with the pain point that is the Zeri damage.
And the thing is, Lyric, we talked about Viper trying to get every MVP for EDG's playoffs run. He needs a pentakill kill. He needs to pop off in this final fight if he's going to get himself an MVP.
I mean, he's definitely putting the damage there, and RNG... Their only real way of contesting, right, is by going in. It's trying to lock it down.
There is no way. JJ just dives onto the backline. Xiaohu already 1 HP, and JJ survives. Viper here to finish off Xiaohu. There's 2 kills for EDG. And once again, the second that they have the items, EDG making it look easy. Viper may be caught, but he backs away and survives. There's another kill in his pocket. His Breathe just gets onto the fountain. It's all he can do here. It's a 1-for-1 at the end of the fight there as someone goes too deep. But it matters not, as Edward Gaming want to continue their reign. They dominate in game number 2.
EDG wanting to make that run in summer once again. They've looked so good in their first series against FPX. They're looking so good here today against RNG. This one, at least a lot closer. RNG able to put up a fight, but you hit on it in game when you asked me about, oh, who do you think's ahead? Who do you think can win these fights? We talked about burst DPS. It looks like EDG are always winning, and that's how it felt, right? It felt like even though it was close, EDG were still the team who were in control. They were the team who were always up in terms of Drakes. Like, they were fine going for these cross maps. Sure, people might get picked off here or there, but when it came to a lot of these team fights, I mean, EDG were coming out every single time, I guess except for the one in bot side where Wei did actually get the reset and it worked out. But that was it. That was the one fight RNG ended up winning.
Yeah, it felt like for RNG, they needed to get burst, right? They needed to get that first kill in the fight, which just never happened. It was always Wei was usually the first casualty of the fight because EDG, I think the biggest thing to praise is the coordination, right? The way this team engages fights, like, everybody is on board. Everybody is ready. Flandre will go in or Scout will go in, find that first bit of CC, and the whole gang is there. JJ as well, more than happy to flash in the middle of everyone and give his life to the play if that's what's needed.
And it's been both games, right? Game one, we were talking about the pincer movements in the team fights and how well coordinated they were. This time, it was the dives. It was a different type of team fight setup, but EDG still showing how to excel in these areas. And I feel like one thing EDG does really well is they've been doing their due diligence in terms of taking setup for dragons. Even in that last fight, you know, like maybe 30, 40 seconds before, they could have tried to brute force their way in. I felt like they were stronger going into that fight. They probably still could have come out ahead, but no, they wait. They push in mid-wave. They start trying to angle Flandre on a flank, and they're trying to get like the highest percentage play to make sure they win the game. And that's what's making it so hard for RNG to find these opportunities, especially when they're playing these compositions that I think play off of very slim margins.
I honestly feel like you say, the composition for RNG very difficult to pull off, but EDG on the red side are basically going, okay, what do you guys play? You let us know what you're going to go for on the blue side. We'll answer it here on the red side. And I think a lot of people, especially in the community, believing that blue side is just indomitable. Just you just win by default. And like across the LPL, this split, it was a 60% win rate on the blue side of the map. But EDG showing that even on the red side, so long as you're coming in with a sound strategy and so long as you know what your opponent is trying to achieve, you can definitely outdraft. You can definitely find yourself win conditions. And when you got hands like the players on EDG do, you can pull it off, that's for sure.
And let's remember that EDG, I mean, they have champions with massive champion pools. Like Scout, Flandre, Viper, I believe these guys can play absolutely anything, to where then you look to RNG, and again, I think a lot of these players can play many champions, but it just doesn't fit the way that RNG stylistically play. You can always assume what types of champions are going to come out for RNG. You know the Lissandras and the Talias, the Vi's, like they're always going to come through. And even when it comes to AD carries, right? Like Gala doesn't play Draven. That's why they have to ban the Draven every time, because they're afraid of things like these 2v2s coming through. And even the likes of things like the Kalista, only 3 games played by Gala this split. So yeah, I think it's a bit of a rough position for RNG, to say the least.
I mean, being 2-0 down, yeah, I'd agree. That's a bit of a rough position. EDG here to play today, and on the cusp now of just getting the first clean sweep in LPL playoffs. That would be a hell of a statement to come into the top 4 doing. EDG looking magnificent. We'll see if they can keep that going right after the break.